Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Seton Hall University 25th Annual Academic Exposition, named in honor of Matthew Petershine, a chemist here at Seton Hall who made a major impact, including coming up with the vision to start this academic expo. And we're so proud to be the stewards of that process for the 25th year. Throughout this week, there will be tens upon tens upon tens of various panels, symposia, poster exhibitions, graduate students, and so forth. This is an excellent collaboration between the faculty of the university and our student body. And we are so proud to continue that tradition. This afternoon, on April 29th, the year 2021, we pay tribute to the oratorical skills and the impact of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I think this is important work because if you were to ask probably 90% of the people throughout the world, what do they remember about Dr. King and his impact? We usually get one response. It's about one speech that he made. But actually, Dr. King left us a full legacy, a treasure chest of not only speeches, but of sermons, another commentary on life and on the future, on things that were good with our society and things that could be changed. So in the spirit of his life and his impact, several years ago, one of our professors, Angela Casanos, decided, she's a speech professor at the university, she decided that she would like to offer an oratorical type of presentation in which students who had either done, or say, through their writing or through their speaking or through their actions, had done something that would be in the Kingian tradition. So in that context today, we're going to have a kind of a call and a response. So what does that mean? Well, looking back on our African traditions, in many cases, when the elders would go before a village or an assembly, and if the elders were speaking very positive things to the village, it is very likely that the village would respond with an affirmation. So if you like what I'm saying, what do you say? He says, "This is good, my brother. Carry on. Amen. Ashe." So in that context, we're going to look at another speech that Dr. King made on one occasion, in which he was talking to some school children. And he wanted them to understand that the reality is that if you don't know where you're going in life, any road will get you there. So that it's awfully important that you find your pathway as early as possible. If you get lost or you stray along the way, please get assistance from someone to assist you to get back on the right pathway. But in order to have your pathway to know where you want to go from point A to point B, one must develop a blueprint. I often remind my students to this very day that getting your collegiate degree, your first bachelor's degree, is just a part of your larger story. And I hope it's not the end of your educational voyage. Why not cast a vision for yourself for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Where would you like to be at the end of your career, say in 30 years? What will your impact be, not only on your family, your community, your region of the country, or the globe? What is the vision you have for yourself? In Proverbs, we can read the following. It says, "Without vision, the people shall surely perish." So we hope to provoke visionary dialogue, visions of the futures. And we hope to give capacity to all of you there through this offering this afternoon. First, we're going to listen to Dr. King give this presentation. It ran actually over 30 minutes when he initially did it. We've taken about an 8 to 9 minute segment that we're going to be listening to. And afterwards, we have one of our students, Kadeem Leslie, who will be responding to the challenge put forth by Dr. King. And Kadeem is going to take that vision and concretize it. I just made up a word there. That's how sociologists are, concretize, which means simply he's going to put some skin and some bones, so to speak. He's going to put some goals and some parameters on that and share it with all of you. So I'm now going to ask our coordinator, technical operations, Bert, if we can now listen to Dr. Martin Luther King.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have as a basic principle the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. And once you discover what it will be, set out to do it and to do it well. And I say to you, my young friends, that doors are opening to each of you. Doors of opportunity are opening to each of you that were not open to your mothers and to your fathers. And the great challenge facing you is to be ready to enter these doors as they open. And so I would urge you to study hard, to burn the midnight oil. I would say to you, don't drop out of school, and I understand all of the sociological reasons why we often drop out of school. But I urge you, in spite of your economic plight, in spite of the situation that you are forced to live so often with intolerable conditions, stay in school. And when you discover what you're going to be in life, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. Set out to do a good job and do that job so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. If you can't be a pine on the top of the hill, be a scrub in the valley. But be the best little scrub on the side of the rill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Don't allow anybody to pull you so low as to make you hate them. Don't allow anybody to cause you to lose your self-respect to the point that you do not struggle for justice. However young you are, you have a responsibility to seek to make your nation a better nation in which to live. You have a responsibility to seek to make life better for everybody. And so you must be involved in the struggle for freedom and justice. Now, in this struggle for freedom and justice, there are many constructive things that we all can do and that we all must do. And so our slogan must not be burn, baby, burn. It must be build, baby, build. Organize, baby, organize. Yes, our slogan must be learn, baby, learn, so that we can earn, baby, earn. And with a powerful commitment, I believe that we can transform dark yesterdays of injustice into bright tomorrows of justice and humanity. Let us keep going toward the goal of selfhood, toward the realization of the dream of brotherhood, and toward the realization of the dream of understanding goodwill. Let nobody stop us, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Thank you, Burke, for coordinating that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Kadeem Leslie. Thank you, Kadeem.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. It's a wonderful speech by MLK. And, I'm just honored to give the response. Just a quick introduction about myself, and I'll get into my presentation. My name is Kadeem Leslie. I am a senior at Seton Hall University. I'm a double major in economics and music. I am now in the Economics Honors Society. I am involved in Black Men of Standard, the Seton Hall Orchestra, of which I'm active leaders in. I am also a peer advisor, and I have been for 3 years now. I welcome in freshmen into Seton Hall University every year. And hopefully, I will be going on to pursue my graduate program in September here at Seton Hall as well. Where do I see myself in 10 years? In 20 years was the question. I see myself in 20 years being a role model and helping more young people to achieve more and think more deeply about college from as early as they can and about their entire lives, really, because, as we were talking about just before we got on to this live event here, college is just a stepping stone to achieve just a wonderful and fulfilling life where people are happy and, contributing to society. And so with that said, we'll get right into the presentation. how to be the full student. 15%. According to a poll by Gallup in 2013, 15% of the entire world's full-time population is engaged in their work, which means that a whopping 85% of adults borderline hate their jobs, are just tolerating it for the paycheck, or they've checked out years ago. In the US, it's a little bit better. 3 in every 10 Americans are engaged in their work, but that still leaves around 70% of Americans not engaged. Now, looking back in time, college is advertised as the place where we're supposed to find our passions and live out our dreams and find what we like to do, right? But then, where is the disconnect? Is it that college is being misrepresented? Is it that college is no longer useful? Or could it be that students aren't using college correctly? Myth or fact? College will reveal your passion. Myth. You see, college doesn't promise a revelation, but it does provide an environment which is ultimately conducive to revealing one's passion. See, we must understand what college is. College is a subset of the entire population that provides a low-stakes environment where we are encouraged to make good mistakes without it being detrimental to the rest of our lives. See, if we were to ask the average adult today, over 40, would they consider making a real significant change to their career path? They'd likely hesitate, and most would probably say no. But did you know that the average college student changes their major at least twice? Yes. So then what does this mean? It means that college is the most ideal time to try and find one's passions and try something new. But of course, trying something new, that's not new, right? We've probably all heard that advice before. Go to college, try something, find what you like to do. So then, if it is that common, what am I saying that's new? Well, here's the difference. And I'll give you my example with a story. When I was coming to college, I was told, find your passions, meet with professors, balance schoolwork, try for internships, meet new people, socialize, get some sleep, practice the cello, and a whole plethora of other things. And here's what I'm suggesting. Instead of trying new things, getting lost in the mix among all of the things that we as college students have to balance, finding our passions and trying new things is the absolute most important thing that college students should be focused on. You see, this has implications not just for the classroom. From a national and international perspective, I know as an economist that productivity is linked to engagement. Did you know that in the US every year, $500 billion is lost just to disengaged workers? No. Imagine a society in the US where even half of that 70% of disengaged workers were now engaged. Imagine just how productive society would be. It has implications for my children and for yours, society as a whole. Now, of course, that's me thinking as an economist. As a human, I want to see more college students think deeply about what it is that they want to do for the rest of their lives and get the most out of college so that when they look back, they can say, yes, I found what I want to do and I found my passion and I'm living a fulfilled life. Especially with the rising price tags. You see, so we must understand what college is. College doesn't promise a revelation, but it is the buffet from which we are called to create our masterpiece. College is calling us to be full. Enter the full student. This 200-page master playbook provides the guide to success in today's society for 21st century students. See, the book starts with getting great grades, but then it goes above and beyond that to say, hey, today we need to do more. The book combines 2 years of research, anecdotes, stories, interviews, principles, with the combined research of dozens of professors, thinkers, philosophers, and of course, students like myself. In today's society, we know that the students who separate themselves from everybody else are those who are able to develop their interests, initiatives, and demonstrate leadership. And so today, I believe that the full student could potentially save the world. Now, of course, to get into the book just a little bit, and to summarize an entire 200-page work in around 10 minutes is quite a feat. But I took some topics here, around 5 of them, to demonstrate just a little bit about what's in the book. So here we go. So studying based on the Feynman technique. The Feynman technique is essentially saying that we don't truly know something unless we're able to explain to someone in the simplest terms possible. Of course, it doesn't stop there, because the emphasis on self-testing is what top students all over the world combine with the Feynman technique to unlock getting great grades repetitively. It's a system. Then the book goes on to talk about spaced repetition, and the book uses the analogy of the gym. Now, if you take the analogy of the gym, and let's say over a six-week period, we are trying to gain as much muscle as possible. We could work out for 4 hours every single Monday of those 4 weeks. That's not as effective as taking those same 4 hours and spacing them out through each week repetitively. What does that mean? So, for example, 90 minutes on Monday, 90 minutes on Wednesday, and then another hour on Friday. That would be significantly more effective than working out for 4 hours on every Monday. Now let's translate that to the classroom. What do we see students doing? Well, top students, they space out. But for most students, they don't do that. What do we see students doing? On Saturday, they study for 4 or 5 hours for one subject or just 2. In the long run, just like in the gym, that has real harmful effects, and at least it's just inefficient. The book goes on to speak about the benefits of writing, and within that same chapter, it talks about residual attention. Now, here is a little bit of an unknown fact to most college students, or most young people today. The average young person will say, well, it takes me about 30 seconds to respond to a text message or to reply to a Facebook text. But residual attention says that it's defined as even though we're no longer looking at the device, it's still distracting us after we've turned our attention away from it. So that 30-second text becomes an additional 90 seconds of our attention not being, well, in class or to whatever task that we're doing at the time. You see, breaking down this math in a 90-minute class, depending on how often we check our phones or get distracted, it ends up being you may be losing around 10% of every class. Now, just translate that over the course of 4 years or over the course of 10 years. You're losing 10% to someone who isn't as distracted as you are. You see, we know we're not supposed to be distracted, but hopefully within this book, breaking down the math, people will see just how detrimental one small habit can be. The book closes on talking about the star group, and you may be thinking, okay, this is similar to be careful who you associate yourself with. But the book has 2 stipulations for a star group. The first is that all members of a star group must benefit from being a member of the star group. The second is that all of the members of the star group must be joined towards a common goal. You see, the star group is different from friends. Even though your friends can be in the star group, But we found that people who pursue these types of relationship don't only find fulfilling relationships while in college, but go on to find fulfilling lives thereafter. See, I believe that the college game can be mastered. We need more students to step up and be leaders, to take themselves out of a place of fear and move beyond the boundaries of what lies just inside the classroom. We need more full students. We need more students to take up the mantle of leadership to new levels. You see, the full student isn't about just being rich, or it isn't about making mom and dad proud. It's about thinking deeply about what college is and using it to create a life and propel yourself to a life of fullness. I believe that the full student can help thousands to achieve that path, and I believe that the full student can create more full students. Thank you.
Thank you, Kadeem. Thank you. Just wanted to start a couple of questions. We may have a few people who are also witnessing. What was your, where did the motivation come for you to start this journey toward putting all of your thoughts and feelings into the form of a book?
So the book was started 2 years ago, as I said in the presentation. And at the time, I was doing very well, for things outside of the school. I was doing very well in my business, but at the same time, I was involved in campus as a peer advisor, and I found my role shifting more towards being a social guide to my students, and then moving towards being an academic mentor to my students. And at the time, I had around 50 students, but then I found with just helping my students alone, they were improving their grades. And I was myself achieving straight A's, right? As well as doing all the other things I was doing at the time. And it got to the point where they knew I was helping and they would take their friends and say, hey, can you help my friend too? And then they would take my advice and tell it to other people. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm having such an impact on these few dozen students, perhaps I can write something that can reach thousands and help to transform the college game and get people to think about really what they're in college for. So
Thank
then
you.
Eric came.
That's what would you consider to be probably some of your unique, I'll say, platform experiences while at Seton Hall? And it may be experiences which are on the campus, classroom, or in the community somewhere. But what would have been the most significant experiences for yourself?
Being a peer advisor, definitely. Being a peer advisor, being a peer advisor has taught me that different people have different motivations in life, and there is no one or even dominant idea for success that we each have. To one person it may be to be a writer, for another person it may be to just have a happy family, and for another person they want to have a 12-car garage, right?
Yes.
But for each of us it's different. And when we tap into what we each want and think, and ask, there was a, an exercise, and it's called Seven Whys, and it's a book I was reading recently, and it's getting us to think deeply. I don't remember what the book is called, but I remember the exercise because I've done it with myself and with a friend too. It's very interesting.
Yes, sir.
And the idea of the exercise is to ask ourselves, what do you want to accomplish? And then with that answer, you ask yourself, well, why do you want to accomplish that? And then you ask why 7 times more, or 7 times in total. And by the time you get to the seventh why, you'll start to see what really motivates you. Because surface level stuff, well, why do I want to be rich? Well, I want to buy cars. Wanting to buy cars may not be the deep reason. But
Yes.
you start to think about, okay, why do I want to buy cars? Because I didn't have cars growing up. Why do you feel that you want to have cars because you didn't have cars growing up? Then you guys go deeper. Well, I have a fear of just not having stuff. Then it's removed from, okay, I want to be rich because no, I have a fear of not, right? And then you move deeper and say, okay, my family didn't have it when I was younger, right? And then you move deeper and you say, well, I want to make sure that my sons and my daughters are right, they're comfortable. And so then you
Right.
start moving to deeper whys, and it is those deeper whys that get us up in the morning and move us to action more than those surface level things that we say in conversation.
Thank you. Are there any influences from your family and your family, extended family, that have touched you profoundly?
Definitely. My mother, she was a social worker. She began to work with the government later on in her life. Unfortunately, she died when I was 10. When I was 12, she died from cancer. So it's unfortunate. But um, up until that point in her life, she managed to touch thousands of people's lives.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that she did was she did a housing scheme for people who couldn't afford it. And she also taught people how to live, among civilized structures, moving people from the streets into these homes. Gave them funding to eat, gave them resources to find jobs and become self-sufficient. And you just, that's really transformative work and really uplifting people's lives to be better. And I think that if, my mom could just have that short span of influence and touch that many people, and if I can do that, and even half of that,
Mm,
well, that would just be an awesome life.
I can appreciate, because in many cases, I would imagine that the wellspring, the spring from which we may get inspiration, are really uh, everything we've experienced in life.
Right.
And you can never sometimes really predict where the inspiration comes from, but we are filled with uh, that which others have allowed to flow into us.
Right.
So appreciate you sharing that story. When your mother was doing that, if you don't mind me asking,
No, of course.
what was her geographical area that she was working in?
She was working in Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Right. So she had gotten her master's in England on there was actually a beautiful story. Sorry, excuse me. So there were 7 scholarships to the University of Nottingham
Yes, sir.
in England, and there was a joke that my mom said, "I don't know who the other 6 people are." But my scholarship is secured, and I think about that story so often. And just this is a
Yes, sir.
wonderful thing. And she got it, and she got it. And then she came back to Jamaica, and did this just wonderful thing. I know so. Near where I live, there's this communal basketball court. It's maybe like a 10-minute drive from where I live. There's a communal basketball court, and when I was younger, it was some like a concrete thing and like a makeshift hoop. She redid that entire thing with some funding, and she also set up this basic school there and put teachers there for the community, and that's still there today. And
Mhm.
that's the type of impact that she's had, that it has outlasted her lifetime. Every now and then there'll be people that come up to me and say, "You don't know me, but your mom changed my life, and here I'm going to help you."
Mm,
And that's that kind of powerful like message doesn't come from just surface level wise. And
yes.
so it's just a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Oh, by all means, by all means. You mentioned earlier that in 20 years, uh, you said you want to be helping others. But what would you see yourself? What capacity might you be in at that point? And how would you also bring others in to assist you in that task? What might be your vision for that?
Well, there are a lot of things, and I'm doing some of it now. One of the things I enjoy doing is speaking and answering people's questions and being an active mentor to people, especially with entrepreneurship and business. I love that side of things. I think what I find is that a lot of young people aren't very financially literate,
Yes.
and that's something that I am passionate about. So I just love to research and know that stuff. And so, helping young people to give them resources and give them information that they may not know, that hey, maybe if I start thinking about this a little bit sooner, I'm sure you have appreciation for like compound interest and years, right? If you start investing when you're 20, just the difference between 20 and 28, when most people start to think, hey, no, I have my first paycheck, let me start. The difference is just mind-blowing by the time that you're 40. And so things like that I start to do now, and I want to do more of that, through different organizations and so on, across, the world. And so it takes time to grow that. So this is why I'm starting, now.
Thank you. I just wanted to insert something quickly, but that last piece you mentioned about it's like investing in self. I learned that same principle through my work in churches and understanding how God gave instructions thousands of years ago
Right.
to the earliest of peoples that as they harvested their fields, they were to set aside 10% of their harvest and put it into a storehouse so that indeed, if there was another brother or sister who was in need, they could always go into the storehouse.
Right.
So the way that principle may translate into our lives today is that we should always set something aside for God. And then number two, set something aside out of that paycheck of whatever you're receiving for yourself. Automatically, without hesitation, don't make it the last thing, so to speak, after you're paying the other bills.
Right.
And then hopefully, God willing, it should grow over time.
Exactly.
And amazing things begin to happen. But that principle. Go ahead.
Oh,
Continue.
I was just saying there's so much, and I having grown up, around the church, I've heard so much of, like messages, and I've never really heard financial literacy messages given within the church, at least within my experience. But having studied the Bible, there is so much financial wisdom in there. Like the Bible says to spread your eggs, to spread your wheat above and locally, which is diversification.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the principles that you have to understand today. And like things like that is just, yeah, the wisdom is there. And so, the more passionate about it, if you can have the knowledge as early as possible, I think it's just a wonderful thing to know.
Absolutely. Do you have any thoughts in your mind now toward what a second book might look like?
Oh, yes. I get the question from time to time. It's already started.
I thought so.
It's it. I'm not gonna give away the spoiler of what what it's gonna totally be about, but um, I know that as I age, my audience ages with me,
Yes.
and so my goal is to hopefully have 3 books written before I'm 30.
Yes.
And then perhaps well, not perhaps, I'll have books after that, but the second book has already started, and that book will help people to think about their lives holistically.
Yes, sir.
Instead of just, so that 7 why exercise, for example,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to necessarily be in there. but
That's right.
but those types of principles we have to think about from as early as possible, because we have too many people that aren't living fulfilling lives, and we have to do something about that, especially as sadness it's on the rise today, especially with technology. It's a problem.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, Kadeem, I want to thank you very much, for taking the time, in a sense, to position yourself to help explain to that generation that would hear this message the challenge of Dr. King in terms of not only building your blueprint for life, but surely securing all of your skills, even though it may be more of a challenge for others. But if it's a challenge, please access those around you, ask for help, look for mentors, and as you said, peer advisor who can be positioned to strategically help any entering college freshmen to see to it that all the success that is in their future can be realized when you simply combine your efforts with another who's willing to help you. So and so powerful a message. I want to thank you for being a part of Speaking with Conviction is our subtitle for this MLK oratorical exhibition. You have
Thank you.
shown those skills well.
Thank
I know
you.
Dr. King would be proud, and we want to thank you for being with us this afternoon. And to our audience, we want to just thank you for being a part of the listening audience. And we know that as many of you may view this recording in the future, we know that indeed it can be used, and we can all look forward to Kadeem's unfolding of his destiny as it impacts many other lives. I don't see any questions in our queue at this point, so I am going to bid everyone adieu, and we look forward to seeing you next year, God willing. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.